Hello and welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by your two favourite reggae boys from Down Under, Ben and Daniel. If you don't know what we're reviewing, look at the title. It is none other than the Bob Marley One Love film, biopic in a way, directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green, who most recently directed King Richard, which you saw Will Smith win his Oscar for.
King Richard.
Oh, it was a couple of years ago, but he won the Oscar for playing the King Richard, the father of the Williams sisters, and also directed Joe Bale some episodes of Top Boy, which is quite popular now. But I guess the plot, it's probably a bit different from a normal biopic, which I will say. It's not exactly I'd hate to use this word, but it's most commonly used, obviously, for superhero. Like, it's not exactly an origin story of your, like, the rags to riches story. It's very evident in what they're obviously trying to do, but it is set in 1976 to 1978 through probably the most prolific time of his career when it's set at a Jamaican Civil War, basically. So it's obviously probably the most prolific time of his career, probably the most important, and I didn't know.
Impactful.
I'm obviously very familiar with his music. I've heard it all my life, basically, but I wasn't. I was familiar with certain aspects, but not really familiar with this specific situation that happened.
I knew nothing.
My utmost respects. I won't obviously, if you're watching this, probably you might know exactly what happens or what occurs, but I don't know. But the first thing I sort of want to chat about, and I'm sure you probably agree, was first of all the performance by Kingsley Ben-Adir, who, looking at his credits, he hasn't actually been, like, he's been in Peaky Blinders, the OA, King Arthur. Like, he hasn't had a breakout role. Most recently, he did play one of the Kens in Barbie.
Oh, right.
And it was, like, probably the third most popular one, like, when they're all in the Mojo Dojo Casa House. Like, probably the third, like, most prolific one. But I thought his performance was fantastic.
Yeah, spectacular.
He really embodied Bob Marley physically. I'm not sure if it was the way it utilized the music I really enjoyed, but I'm not sure if it was specifically him singing the part. I feel like it was definitely audio wise. It sounded like it was him singing, right? Like, you know, you look at Bohemian Rhapsody, you know that's the audio of a Queen song playing. I thought he was brilliant, really. Just in terms of the embodiment, the physicality that went into it, especially the vocal side of things, like even getting the accent down right, the mannerisms of Bob Marley. You saw obviously at, like most biopics and true stories, you see at the end like some glimpses of him performing, and you're like, you know, he embodied that.
He did, yeah. He definitely studied it, that's for sure. But you're right. I was like trying to figure out, is he kind of like voicing over it, like, you know, is he just like lip syncing to it, like spectacularly, or is he doing his own? It was kind of really hard to tell, which I think probably props to him, you know, that maybe he's either that spot on or his acting was that great that he was able to, you're right, embody that entire performance, embody that entire persona, and deliver on it. I thought he was great. I hope he did sing it because it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so I've just, while you've said that, I have looked it up just to confirm.
Just done the Google.
He did not sing, dance, or play guitar before he did this role, but he does
Sing,
obviously
dance.
do that all now. So
so he did.
So
that was him.
It did. The audio, like, obviously they utilized his Bob Marley's music in the soundtrack and obviously over the top, but like when he's performing on the guitar and just him singing without any of that is him, yes.
Oh, cool. Good.
So can sing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I also thought, like, overall, I thought the cast was really good. Like, the performances from everyone. I did think Lashana Lynch as Rita Marley, his wife, was, I mean, probably the only other really prolific role in the film.
The only notable one.
Everyone else was kind of short parts here and there, but I thought everyone was really good. But she's also fantastic. She was really good in the film, which she's obviously probably mostly known as, I think, Monica Rambeau from the Marvels, Captain Marvel. And also in The Woman King and James No Time to Die. But I thought performance-wise, it's probably where the film would die on the sword, because it's really...
Well, it has to live off it,
Well, it has to live off it, yeah. But I thought that was fantastic. I must say, I really liked certain aspects of the direction in terms of
I did not.
the way it utilized colors, especially in the flashback scenes. Like, you look at all the flashback scenes, you can tell the way they utilized colors. Obviously, this film's going through a really hard time in Bob's life with obviously Jamaica at war, and I mean, most knowingly, he's obviously his cancer diagnosis. But the way it utilized colors in the flashback sequences, it was a lot of warm oranges, calm blues, and things like that, which for me symbolized hope in a way, and this love and hope, but and kind of this like innocence. Whereas everything that was the current was a very different tone.
It's like a dark overtone, wasn't it?
Yeah, which I really like the utilize
Grays
of
and
that and
blacks
that
and shadows
symbolism. Yeah, I really like that symbolism kind of thing. Obviously, that might not have been a creative choice, but it definitely felt like it to me.
Yeah.
But I thought the direction of certain scenes, like the scenes of them making music together, was really highlighted. But I just felt like it was very at times. And that's why I said I liked certain aspects of the direction, because then the other side of it, it did feel very much, and I hate using this term, like a standard Oscar bait biopic. And it's an odd one because it's not an Oscar bait film in the way that it's coming out towards the end of December. Yeah. It's flying for it's making a like, you know, for your consideration sort of awards run. It's come out obviously after the nominees and things like that, which it did feel a little bit odd. I don't know if that's obviously
I struggled with the direction overall of the film. So I didn't know what story it was telling or what it wanted to tell. It kind of grabbed, I felt like, key moments and just told those stories, but didn't cohesively put them all together.
It wasn't cohesive, is probably the best way to say it. It's very evident what the film's trying to tell in terms of obviously peace and love.
Well, that's what the whole...
But I agree with you in the sense that it's not cohesive in the way that it is edited quite oddly at times.
Yeah.
It's very evident, and I said before, when there's flashbacks, because there's a completely different color tone. Obviously, you've got the actors, but there's moments where they're in Jamaica and then
jump in time,
and then he goes to London and he sends his wife to America, but then all of a sudden she's in London, and it's like it's literally the next scene. It's not as if there's a period of time in between that.
Correct.
It just felt oddly put together is probably the best way. And obviously that does come down to the direction and the side of things, but I'm not sure he edited the film, but they're at obviously sake of grace of what the director is wanting. So I don't know if it's just that the studio wanted a shorter film, but it did feel a little bit choppy.
Yeah, I didn't know what their focus was.
I think the focus watching the film is obviously just the message of love and peace, and I do think.
See, I didn't think the focus was that in the film.
I definitely. Well, it's the main ending.
I mean,
it's the beginning and it's the climax of the film. So it 100% is, but the middle of the film, it doesn't. It detaches from that though. That's what I'm saying. Is there's a bit of a disconnect in what they're trying to say. Like that 100% is the messaging of it, and they're trying to show that like tumultuous part of his career, whereas there was just a disconnect between the middle section of the film, which in a way makes sense in real life, because obviously he had this situation happen. He went and made the album Exodus, which is considered the best album
of the 20th century.
Of the 20th century from, I mean, was it Time Magazine or Rolling Stones? But it makes sense in that grand scheme of things, because that's exactly the timeline that happened. It just felt like the film was basically picked up from a Wikipedia page, or
that's a good way to
describe it. It just felt like they've looked at these 3 years of his career, which are the most important,
they're just
and prevalent, and they've
went.
Just, here's what happened here, here's what happened here, here's what happened here, rather than have a cohesive timeline.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know if it would have been fixed with a longer runtime. I really don't know, or maybe more precise sort of direction. I really don't know where that. But overall, I had a good, like, I did think it was a good film, and it came down to the performances. I do think there's a lot of heart in this film as well, with obviously the person that Bob Marley was and is. It's incredibly sad life, like, and to be as just as positive as he was through everything that he, like, it is a heartwarming story in that sense. I think, and that's what it's got going for it, is that the fact that it's about Bob Marley.
Yeah.
It just felt like there was, it could have, it's a bit disappointing to me. As I said, I don't know everything about Bob Marley, but like just watching these few years on the screen, it could have been a phenomenal movie. And even if Reinaldo Marcus Green still directed it, I don't know. But whether it was a little bit longer, I don't know. It had glimpses of like an amazing biopic, which like moved you. And I mean, I think of most recently like a musical. I think Rocket Man, the Elton John one starring Taron Egerton, was a fantastic movie.
It was pretty good.
Much better than Bohemian Rhapsody. Should have been the musical biopic that year that won anything if it did. That was a brilliant film about finding yourself belonging, and that had like such a tight knit story.
Yeah.
And even then, like Bohemian Rhapsody is quite a messy film.
Yeah.
And this just felt like, I don't know. I just think it came down to not so much the writing, maybe the screenplay, in the sense that it just felt like a summary of the most full-on 3 years that happened.
I guess what I was going to say was, without going into the spoiler territory, it was that like I was struggling where the focus was, because I thought it'd be more around his, obviously the love and peace and everything, but also the impact that he had. I thought that's where the film was, and it had those moments, but it kind of focused on just him as a human, not inherently his impact. I felt like it jumped between the two, and for me, that was just...
And it's interesting as well, because they deal with that in the film, right? Like they have a whole... I'm not spoiling anything by any means saying this, but that, he's... Like, people tell him that he's the messenger and things like that, and his wife at one period of moment said maybe the messenger becomes the message. And that funnily enough sums up what you were saying. It's an odd one because, it just felt a little bit odd in that sense, in the fact that at times it showed people what he means to people, and the revolution behind the fact that he all that civil war going on in Jamaica at the time, and essentially the fact that he was the peacekeeper of the whole situation. But it more, rather than focusing that, it more showed it didn't manage to show his dealings of his inner like demons in any way during that time. There's obviously a two-year period that the film's showing. It mainly shows the touring and the making of that record, but it doesn't show how he deals with the fact that he's scared, this near-death experience.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really deal with that and attack that properly. It just wasn't as cohesive as it probably needed to be. And if it was, and I'm sure you would agree, if it was sort of fully cohesive and actually just like as a normal film, would build up to that sort of climactic ending, which is really, like, it is powerful ending as it is still, but if it dealt with that perfectly, it genuinely would be a fantastic movie.
I agree.
I still would recommend this to most people. I think most people will take enjoyment
great.
out of it. My parents would probably love it.
Felt emotional from it too.
Yeah, for sure. I just think, it's a good movie, and I had a really good time. It was just lacking that cohesion and that like tight-knit direction to take it to that next level of like a fantastic biopic, which is disappointing because the subject matter is impeccable, and it's especially a time where everyone could get around a story of peace, love, and being that sort of that message. But I don't know. It's just a little bit disappointing, and obviously I've said that a few times, but it's just, in saying that, I didn't have a terrible time at all. I actually really did enjoy it. It's just, it could have been so much more. And I think the fact is that the performances really bring that to life as well, which everyone here is fantastic. So it just, I'm just a bit upset really, because it just could have been, and I know you're looking at me with agreement, but
could have just been something else, but that doesn't take it away from the fact it was a good film. But
no, it was definitely a good film. I had a really good time, highlighted by the fantastic performances across the board, but just with some more cohesion with the story and what they're trying to tell, and the direction, it could have been really up there for me. But
we're just two guys that review movies.
Exactly. So we are the most qualified people to comment on this.
Correct.
Because we watch. But look, if you have seen it, which I believe we were lucky enough, thanks to Paramount, to see this one early. I believe it comes out on the 14th of Feb here in Australia. I'm not sure when it comes out on in America or overseas or anywhere, but this will be up on I think the 9th of Jan it was. But yeah, when you do see it or if you have seen it, I'd love you to comment below. Let us know what you think. If you like our reviews, do give us a thumbs up, as it does mean a lot, and subscribe for our next few videos. I say few as if we're ending. We're not. Our next video. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Enjoy.